Well, this is not something I was expecting to make today. A video about the Ottawa Senators trading Brady Tkachuk to the Florida Panthers. I think this is like my first video about hockey on this channel. It's been a lot of soccer, baseball, and whatever else that's out there, really. But we're, I guess, ready to make Ottawa Senators content with the huge trade. Brady Tkachuk, he's gone. Our captain is gone. He's traded to the Florida Panthers. I know it's been a couple hours since the trade's gone out. I just want to take some time to reflect on it. Not come like my initial thoughts at the time. I was thinking, is like, what did we just do? And was like crazy spiraling. Like, what does this mean? What else we're gonna do? Blah blah blah. But I've taken some time to really sit down, settle into my thoughts, and hey, we're here. So yeah, Brady Tkachuk, he's gone. He's been traded to the Florida Panthers. He's gonna go play with his brother Matthew in Florida. I'm sure his family's stoked about that, especially on Father's Day. Keith spending time with both his kids, and now they're gonna be playing together in the NHL. So definitely something I wasn't expecting to have to make a video on this early. Something I always thought could happen. But yeah, Sens decide, you know what? We're gonna do it now. We're gonna get as many assets as we want for Brady. There's been lots of reports coming out. Apparently, the locker room is not really gelling with Brady, especially after the Olympics. It felt like post Olympics, it felt like Brady's vibe has changed and just a different overall sentiment about him. Apparently, people thought it was a distraction, and apparently, players in the locker room kind of went to Stas and said, "Yeah, we want this distraction over with. Either you get a clear answer, or you trade him." Yeah, he told the Sens management he wasn't going to resign in Ottawa, so they sent him away. Uh, get on to the package here. Ottawa acquires 3 first-round picks, including the ninth pick in this year's draft, the 25th pick in this year's draft, a 2029 top 10 protected first round pick, and a 2027 second round pick. Obviously, Florida acquires Brady. So we get 3 first round picks and the second pick. I know a lot of people are complaining, saying, why didn't we get a roster player? Or, oh, this is a weak return. Why aren't we, it feels like we're going into a rebuild, blah, blah, blah. We got 3 first round picks for, I mean, this is gonna sound like a coping, take for a player I don't think's worth 3 first-round picks. Like, I loved Brady when he was here. I loved him as a player. Not gonna really talk about him as a person, but as a player, he was like the heartbeat of the team. He's a great leader for, I'd say, 6 of his 8 years here. Won't talk about the last 2 years in Ottawa, which is funny because it's the 2 years we made the playoffs, but ever since, like, the US-Canada stuff really blew up, it felt different with Brady. But for the most part, he's been a great leader. He's been someone it's easy to go out and behind. And like I am gonna say, I do think he's a bit overrated or overvalued in this league. He's not some consistent 80 to 100 point player, uh, consistent playoff performer type superstar. He's a good player, physical player. He's a unicorn type player, in where there's not many people who will hit, shoot, and produce like him, like all 3 combined. But he's not an elite, amazing franchise talent, is the way I'm gonna put it. I think he is probably the 3rd best player on this team behind Sanderson and Stützle. I don't think like, I think 3 first round picks is well worth it, especially a top 10 pick in a loaded draft. Now, with these assets, I don't want the team using some of these assets. I want the team continuing to try and get better, which is where some people would probably be complaining and saying, why didn't we get a roster player back? Yeah, we do need roster players. This team is going to be competitive. This team is trying to be competitive. We don't want another rebuild in Ottawa. We have assets now to get those players. Still think now we need 2 top 6 players. We have enough assets to get 2 top 6 players. We had enough assets to probably get 2 top 6 picks or players before we traded for Brady. Now we definitely have enough assets to probably add a star and another top 6 forward. So let's get on let's get on who could be some available names. It's late at night. Been watching a lot of World Cup, which is why this hasn't been out yet. Just a lot, fuzzy mind, so a lot of mistakes in this video, but kind of tired. Not really. I want this to be from my heart. Don't want to have to edit or do a million takes. So, like we said, oh nope, we're on the Brady Tkachuk's career as a senator. See, no, I am messed up in my brain right now. But Brady Tkachuk as a senator played over nearly 600 games, 463 points with 200 plus goals, a lot of penalty minutes, 821, a career minus 53. So plus minus is a flawed stat. It's not always telling. He was on some really bad teams here where he didn't have great plus minuses, but he was never on a good enough team to get it like way into positives, is the way to look at it. Obviously, he's played 10 playoff games as a Senator, did have 7 points. All 7 of them were against Toronto in 2025. He had 0 points this year in a sweep, and both times we went down 3-0 with him as the leader. So, a tale of two halves. Brady is a good player. He is a really good player, but he's not a superstar. I don't think Brady can be your franchise superstar on a cup winning team. And now he's going to Florida where he does not need to be that. He's just another of a huge group of guys. In Ottawa, he was kind of seen as that leader. Not anymore. He's not going to be a leader on the Ottawa Senators. He can go on a stack team where I will be completely honest, he's going to win a cup in Florida. I would not be surprised if they win the next cup. Yeah, they need a goalie bad there, but I would not be surprised if Brady Tkachuk is a cup champion before he retires. As you can see, he has pretty good stats. The playoffs, it was disappointing. I'd say last year against Toronto, I did think he was pretty good. It's just we went down 3-0, so you have to be, a little upset. You wanted more fight in the start of that series. This year, he was completely invisible in the playoffs. He was completely off all year. He did not look like Brady Tkachuk. I know he looked like a shell of himself. Yes, he was producing at honestly one of the best rates of his career, but he wasn't fighting, he wasn't hitting, he didn't look engaged. He looked all of that at the Olympics, not for the Senators, which is why I'm kind of, I understand the trade. He looked like two different players during the Olympics and the regular season. It looked like he didn't want to be a Senator. It looked like he wanted to be an American, citizen, American star. He was at the Olympics and he won Olympic gold. But for a guy who's your captain, a guy who's making over $8 million a year, you want him to be engaged when he's playing for your team, and he just wasn't. So I'm completely fine with this trade because of that. I was not happy of Brady at times. Now he's no longer a Senator. We can get past all this, talk about Brady. It and in reality, as the reports coming out, it's kind of like a distraction for the team. The distraction's over. There's no more what's the future on Brady, you know, oh Brady, how will it impact the American Canadian politics, whatever's going on right now. No more of that. You get a fresh slate, and sometimes these trades work out for the better. I mean, when it wasn't a trade, but when Tavares left the Islanders immediately won. They're like swept the playoff series and won to two straight conference finals. They got immediately better. I'm not saying the Senators are going to become some wagon now that Brady Tkachuk's gone, but sometimes these moves work out best for the organization. Now we're on to some players though who to help this team, get better. They will. I this is I am having a tough time speaking right now, but some players who I think the Sens should consider trading for or acquiring to get better. And the tough part is, how do we convince some of these guys to come to Ottawa? Jason Robertson's been a name who's already been out there that the Sens are trying to go after. He's an RFA, meaning he does not have a contract, but he's not an unrestricted free agent. So we can't just go and say, hey, you want to come to Ottawa and sign him to a contract without giving up any assets. At the same time, if he was a UFA, why the hell would he do that? Now, as an RFA, if we were to get him, we'd have to give up assets, but we will be battling against teams who also have to give up assets. It's not like, hey, you want to come to us, Ottawa, or do you want to go to that, place where players would probably prefer to go to because of its climate, taxes, whatnot, and like whatnot. Now, we just have to convince him, hey, want to come play in Ottawa. And yes, he is playing for Dallas, which is a tax-free team, but they have little cap room and they need to re-sign some players. So offer sheet or trade or Jason Robertson leaving Dallas is a potential, thing that could happen. And if he's willing to come to Ottawa, I'll say this, I think he's better than Brady. I think he's a better hockey player than Brady Tkachuk and would upgrade this team. And he would be a superstar here in Ottawa. He would be the guy. He's a player who I think can be that superstar-esque player on a team. And I just think he'd be an incredible player with Tim Stützle. Robertson and Stützle together would be one of the best lines in the NHL. Whoever you put on that like right side, Robertson Stützle together would carry them to being one of the best lines in the NHL. Sorry there. My second name is Jordan Kyrou. He has 4 years left, so this would be a trade. The issue with Kyrou is that apparently the Sens have already had talks with the Blues about Kyrou, and he has a no move clause. And it's been stated by Bruce Garriock he wouldn't be willing to waive it for Ottawa, which, if that's the case, I am very upset by because Jordan Kyrou and Tim Stützle together would be such a dynamic duo. Jordan Kyrou is a guy who can put the puck in the net and is extremely quick and has been in trade talks with St. Louis forever. For some reason, he's a very good player. You add him with Tim Stützle, who is an elite playmaker and a very quick player. You have a elite duo together that can raise Jordan Kyrou, can raise Tim Stützle. I think Kyrou could become a 40, 45 goal scorer. Stützle would be on his way to 100 points with a player like Kyrou. And if the rumors are true that he wouldn't be willing to waive here, I'd be so annoyed because he'd just be a perfect fit. Like, I think Robertson's the best player. He'd cost a lot more than Kyrou would. I think Kyrou would be my preferred choice based off the assets we'd have to give up. And just I think his fit would be so perfect with Stützle. So Jordan Kyrou, please reconsider. I think you in Ottawa would be so good, and you'd help take us to another level. You'd be like we're better than the Blues. The Blues are going into a rebuild. Why stick there? Come to an organization where you could win, where you could potentially, be a consistent playoff team. I'm not going to say win because winning means winning the Stanley Cup, and I don't know if we could win a Stanley Cup right now. I just think Kyrou to Ottawa would be such a beautiful fit. Mason McTavish, he's a player who, when he's on, can be like a Brady light, basically. He could be another Brady Tkachuk. 4 years left. And the one thing compared to most of these guys I've listed, he's from the area. He is a local boy to Ottawa. So I think convincing him to get here, there'd be no real issues. The issue is how much do the Ducks, want for him? On the other hand, how do we know we're getting the good Mason McTavish? Because the past couple years have been a bit rocky for Mason. He hasn't been the player who's worth $7 million, which is a big issue. 4 years at $7 million for a guy we don't know if he should be living up or should be getting that much money is a big risk. But he's from the area, so I don't think it'd be that hard to convince him to come home. And we've seen him at the World Juniors and in the OHL. When he's at his best, he is a very good player. He is a very physical player. He's a very skilled player. I think he could elevate this top six and be a very good piece for us. The fourth player, this is a fever dream because I do think of everyone on this list, he's the most like Brady Tkachuk. It's Matthew Nyes. He's been in trade talks, specifically in trade talks with the Montreal Canadiens, which is why I'm adding him. If the Habs are in trade talks for him, why can't the Sens be? Now, the issue is the Leafs have a new GM, John Chayka. They don't have Brad Treliving. So obviously, John Chayka might not want to trade Matthew Nyes. And if that's the case, we can erase Matthew Nyes from this list. But he's a similar player to Brady, good physical player, good net front player, especially on the power play, can net you 30, 35 goals, 70, 75 points a year, which is basically what Brady did in Ottawa. So it'd just be replacing Brady Tkachuk with Matthew Nyes, a guy who has more term. My issue of Nyes and some of the guys on this list, he's American. So how would we actually convince him to come to Ottawa or stay in Ottawa when he's supposed to be due up? I don't know. But Matthew Nyes, very good player. Someone who, if available in the Sens, could get. I would not be mad if they did bring in. Alex Tuck is a UFA. He's the only guy where we don't even need to give up an asset to get. We have lots of cap room. The issue, he's American. So how do we convince him, hey, want to come play in Ottawa, Ontario? The likely answer is going to be no. Why would he want to come play here? But if Alex Tuck is willing to come to Ottawa, I think he would be a beautiful fit. He's a very quick player. Again, can show some physicality, can score goals, can play in different scenarios. And the one thing that would concern me, like, yeah, he's done good in the playoffs for Vegas before and obviously helped get Buffalo back to the playoffs this year. Second round in the playoffs, he was a no-show. But Brady was also a no-show this year. So it's kind of similar. Like, they both didn't show up when your team needed them. Uh, Alex Tuck, I do think he's a very good player and would be a nice piece for this team. I just don't think it's likely, especially with him being an unrestricted free agent. He has his choice of where he wants to go. If I were to bank on it, I'd probably see him somehow going to like Tampa. That'd be my guess for Alex Tuck. I don't think he's going to come to a Canadian team, and he's going to go somewhere where he doesn't have to pay taxes because that's what every player does this nowadays. That's the issue with the NHL. They need a fix for this, and the fix for this is a prorated cap, like salary cap. The teams where taxes are more expensive should get larger salary caps to, like at a prorated thing compared to the other teams where they can pay these players more money, whereas technically speaking, they're getting the same as where they get elsewhere. The NHL needs to implement something like that. That's how you stop players going to Dallas. That's how you stop players going to Florida. That's how you stop players going to Vegas, all these places where there's no taxes. My final two options, we have Jake DeBrusk. Jake DeBrusk's just been a name linked with the Senators. I don't want Jake DeBrusk. Not going to talk much about him. Good power play goal scorer. We need 5-on-5 scoring as well. I don't think Jake DeBrusk would help there at all. And then Alexis Lafreniere. I think he's an interesting piece. I think, he has the most term here of anyone listed. He was performing really well in New York after Panarin got traded. So I think he'd be given the keys to play our number one line left wing. I think he'd be a good piece. Alexis Lafreniere is an interesting name for me. Do I think it happens? Probably not. I don't think New York would trade him. If they were willing to, though, I'd be all over it. I don't think it cost like anything substantial. I think maybe we could get away with like pick 25 and another pick, and we could get him, and I'd do that all day. But we'll have to see. It's an interesting name. These are just some of the names who I think are realistically like available. I mean, I could throw Jared McCann on here. Don't know if he'd resign. Connor McDavid. I mean, obviously he's not getting traded this year, and if he does get traded, why would he pick Ottawa? Other than he knows Steve Stamkos. Like these are just some names who I think, hey, we could potentially actually get. Now, if they want to go a different route and actually want to use the draft picks they've gotten, here's some names I think Ottawa could end up getting at pick 9. Tynan Lawrence out of Boston University, Vigo Bjork out of the SHL, and Ethan Belchetz out of the Windsor Spitfires. Ethan Belchetz is your most Brady Tkachuk-like player here. Vigo Bjork is probably the best player here, and Tynan Lawrence is a player who he's just been mocked around here. I don't know enough about Tynan Lawrence to really give you a full-on thing. My preferred choice would be Vigo Bjork. Watching him at the World Juniors, watching him at the Worlds, he just really showed out. Definitely had his stock bumped up a bunch, and if he was there available at 9, I'd take him. Yes, he's a smaller player. He doesn't play like a smaller player. He's a physical player. He plays in the dirty areas. He's a very good player who he's a player that people say, oh, he's going to fall because of his size. He should not be falling because of how tall he is. As for pick 25, got Liam or Marcus Ruck, the brothers out of the Calgary or the Medicine Hat Tigers. Fantastic brothers. I'd honestly love it if we could somehow get both of them with like pick 25 and pick 32. That'd be such a fun, dynamic duo for the future. Matisse Preston is a potential another name. Good player. I think he had a really good year a year ago. Dealt with some injuries this year, if I'm not mistaken. And then Tommy Blilel, I hope I'm saying that right, out of the QMJHL, committed to the NCAA next year, was over a point per game this year in college or in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. I think playing for Moncton could be a potential, interesting piece for the Senators. He is a defenseman, though. I don't know if the Senators need a defenseman. I would prefer a winger or forward, but in the draft, you just be taking the best player available. It doesn't matter what position they play. But yeah, I think that's going to do it. Brady Tkachuk is a Florida Panther. Wasn't expecting that today. We'll have to see what Steve Stamkos has up his sleeve. It has to be something to make this team a better team. It can't be just trading for just getting more assets. Having a retool type year. This team, you have Stützle and Sanderson in the prime of their careers. You need to be contending. You need to be adding pieces. Go out, get a Jason Robertson. Go out, add a Mason McTavish. Go get both of them. Why not? You need to add forward pieces. You need to add, potential stability in net as a good backup goalie. I wouldn't be against a defenseman option. I have my takes on what I think the Sens should do with their defense, but we'll leave that for another video. I'm kind of happy this did happen before, I stopped being lazy and made a what I would do if I was a Sens type video this offseason, because now I can know there will not be Brady Tkachuk on this team next year. He has been traded. So we have to plan without Brady. What do we do? It should be a crazy offseason in Ottawa. That's one way to get it started by trading your captain. And hey, Who's the next captain of the Senators? That's another question. I'm still going over the possibilities, but as of right now, I think I'm kind of leaning Shabbat. Wouldn't be against Sanderson or Stutzla at all, though. It's, I mean, crazy times in Ottawa. Thank you for watching this video. And, just leave me your thoughts. What were your thoughts on Brady's time in Ottawa? What are your thoughts on the return on trade? And what do you think the Sens should do this offseason?